My name's Donavon Smallwood. I'm 26. I've lived in New York City my entire life, Harlem, and I've been taking photos for about 10 years now.
When did you start taking photos?
I started taking photos, well, I guess seriously about midway through high school. I had a photo class I took, and the professor lied and said I was really good. So I just said, oh, okay, cool. I'll just keep doing this. Looking back at those photos now, they're really bad. I don't know why he did that, but it's been working since then.
What type of photography were you attracted to when you first started?
Mostly just taking pictures of my friends or like just my neighborhood stuff around that seemed interesting. And then I started photographing more like things with deeper meanings to me, even though it seemed like no one really got it besides me. So I don't know, it was weird. So I just kept doing portraits and it's a little bit of like my own thing.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about the next issue. I mean, the current issue of Love magazine, the one you contributed to, and you got a cover as well, which is great.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I'll show pictures because now I have the issue in my hand, so it's great. It's not your cover yet, but that's the image.
Yes.
And could you tell me a little bit more about that shoot and how it happened and what was going through your mind when you were producing and these images?
The cover photo is from a project I worked on a couple of years ago. It's called Shepardis, or a Reformation of the Classical Subject. Long title, I know. But most of the project, well, like most projects I work on come from an interest in a really specific subject matter. And for this one, I was more interested in, since I've been going to museums a lot, I've been seeing a lot of like mythological themes and figure paintings and these kind of classical academic works. So by seeing that, I always like wondered about seeing different types of people in those kind of images, specifically Black women. So with that, I wanted to try to create something that was similar, but with photography. Because for me, like growing up and going to my family's houses, I would always see these kind of mythological like images and paintings, but with Black people. Like they're my aunt's house, she would have like Black Jesus or like Black angels or a Black Venus. And I always wondered like, okay, what's that? And then you go to museums and then you see this other thing. So I kind of wanted to incorporate those two themes and try to make like images that were mythological based and these old academic type images with women I knew or women I can find, Black women.
How do you research those stories and those myths? How do you research those stories behind your photographs?
A lot of it came down to looking up just academic painters and figure painters. So I got a few that I was inspired by, but I didn't want to exactly just recreate the images. I wanted to just see the images and see what I could create around that. It would seem like, okay, this makes sense for this kind of timepiece, you know? So I looked at a bunch of images from that time period and people that were referencing that time period. And then I read a few novels and books and tried to see like what kind of myths people were going through and what made sense to make the project.
And obviously, there's always a deeper meaning in your photography. What message, as a Black artist, are you trying to spread into the world?
Well, with this project, I'm not sure. It was more me seeing how it would look, just because I'd never seen it before. So I just wanted to know, okay, if I were to do these kind of shoots in this kind of figures, how would this look exactly? So the idea was just to have it in the world at all, just because I don't know, I haven't seen them before. So I just wanted to like see it, have it there, and then think about it over time, you know. But as a whole, there's so much. There's I've been looking at a lot of images and old references and trying to like find more Black photographers and more just images that aren't strictly based around, let's say, like civil rights movement and just based on like life in general. And there's a bunch of archives and like Instagram pages that are amazing at that. They take a bunch of candid photos that are from like Black families and everything and just put them together. So I've been kind of like reading that and looking at that and trying to see how I could build off that tradition in my own work.
And obviously, there's we've been talking a lot about systemic racism and the world post George Floyd. How did this affect the way you you perceive your own art and you want to evolve into the future?
It was really difficult at first for me, and with COVID and all this lockdown going on, it's really interesting because I guess everything it's all given me an opportunity to engage more with the tradition of photography and Black photography specifically. Because before the lockdown, before everything's going on, there's always something to do, and you don't really have too much time to just sit and just look over what's happened before. You always want to do what's in like the next thing or the present. So I've been just going over and trying to make my work or look at my work as something that's not divorced from the tradition of Black photography as a whole, and just try to spend more time with photo books by Black photographers or just the work and try to see what I could do to build off this and keep this going.
When it comes to your work, what's the most challenging thing when you're trying to create an image?
I think now for me, I'm trying to photograph less widely, if that makes sense. Like instead of like having, I kind of want to have projects that are like based on distinct themes and particularities. Because I think today it's better to shoot less and be more concentrated, especially for me, because I feel like I have enough of a hard time getting people to look at my work anyway for more than a few seconds. So I think it's better to have like a really concentrated idea of what you want to do and just go off that and have those themes ready and build from that instead of just like shooting everything and doing so much all the time. I want to really slow it down and make it a real process.
This one.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how this image came about?
Well, I believe I might have had a reference for it, and it was something by Bergerot, where there was a woman sitting with a sheep, and she had like a little book between her lap. So I wanted to do something based off that. And the girl in the image, her name is Kayla. She's a great friend of mine. She was just down for it. We went over the idea, and she just went into the role perfectly. I didn't have to give her much direction. It was just, okay, I want to have this book here. I want you to have this kind of look with you. And she just had it. And it was just perfect moment. I just snapped like 2 pictures and that was it.
You mentioned you've been doing photography for more than 10 years. What did you struggle with in terms of getting your work out there and getting opportunities or having a platform?
I think most of the struggle for me is just like getting myself out there in a way, because I'm kind of an introverted guy. I stay a lot home reading, and I don't really do too much besides photography, read, work on my own thing. So it's just having to constantly put yourself out there and always updating and being like online on social media, emailing people, like that kind of thing. Haven't been too good at it. So it's been a process with that, like not just having the work, but having it organized and ready to show it to people and being ready to just have everything displayed at all times.
Last question: when you think of creating a fashion image, or just an image, or actually when you think of creating an image, do you think of the fashion immediately, or is that something that comes naturally as the process evolves?
I think it comes naturally as the process evolves, because for me, I think of the theme first and like what are the subjects going to be doing or like who they are, and then like there's usually like an idea of like what they're wearing, like hey, maybe there's like a blazer or overcoat, but then having it actually there, that's just going to be like way later. I don't even think about it until I'm just there, I guess.
Cool. Thank you so much. 10 minutes. Thank you so much for doing this, and congratulations again on your cover.
Thank you.